which is not something I always remember to do. So yay.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. So we're going to get started. I'm Darlene Swistock from the Buckles office and wanted to thank you for attending this afternoon's training. As you may know, Buckles Strategic Plan calls for centralized training for mandated services, which includes the ILS, eContent, and delivery. And this is one of several classes that we have been offering for eContent, and we anticipate offering other classes upcoming in the rest of the year. They're open to anyone who actively works with ordering or managing Advantage collections using OverDrive. And there will be time for questions. You can type them into the chat box. Tina Marie will also pause and ask for questions, and you can unmute yourself if you need to. And I think that's it for the moment. So I would like to introduce Tina Marie Doody, who is the director at Glen as well as the co-chair of our eBuckles committee.
Great. Thanks, Darlene.
Why is it like, how is it?
All right, everybody. We're gonna get started. So what we're gonna do, the way we're gonna do it today, I'm going to bring up our OverDrive collection here. I'm gonna run you through some different things with Cost-Per-Circ. Then we're gonna go through some slides very quickly at the end because those are gonna be repetitive as to what we did in the actual marketplace. Those slides will be sent to you along with recording and the evaluation after the event. And like Darlene said, please feel free to enter your questions as we're going along. So I am going to share my screen. All right, can everybody see the OverDrive marketplace?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so this is the screen that you will see when you log into OverDrive. Over on the top left, you'll see shop, one copy, one user, and metered access. That is the default formats that you are shopping in when you're using marketplace. If I ever say content reserve instead of marketplace, that's what they used to call it, which is an indicator of how long I have been using OverDrive. So if you click on the little arrow here, you'll see what your other options are. So Cost-Per-Circ, or CPC, as it gets shortened to quite a bit, is what we're going to talk about today. You also have options for simultaneous use, Libby extras, purchasing tools, and purchasing content credit here. So Cost-Per-Circ is what it sounds like. You are paying per checkout. You can put as many titles as you want into your list for Cost-Per-Circ, and when somebody checks one out, you get charged the cost for that checkout. The costs vary based on item and item type. You will see things anywhere from 99 cents up to, I think, $11 per circ is the most that I have seen. One of the things as we go through, you're going to hear me say a lot, is your mileage may vary. One of the things that I can't tell you is whether Cost-Per-Circ is a good choice for you. It really depends on your budget, on your goals, and what you are trying to get out of it. So hopefully this will help you make your decision-making process a little bit easier about whether or not you want to use Cost-Per-Circ and what you want to use it for. This is similar to the Hoopla model. If anybody is familiar with Hoopla, when your patron checks an item out, you get charged for it. Also similar to Canopy. So when you look on your screen here, you're going to see CPC monthly budget. So this is how you will manage how much money you spend on Cost-Per-Circ. So you set how much money you want to spend for ebooks and how much money you want to spend for audiobooks on a monthly basis. This does automatically reset at the beginning of the month. So if you do not want to spend money, say in October, I don't want to spend any money in November, I need to make sure I delete these titles and bring them back to zero before November 1st, because otherwise you have a potential of, once your budget resets, it will start spending that money if you still have anything in your queue. So this is how you just click in the box and say how much money you want to spend. And then the available budget tells you how much money you have left. So you'll see I have $111.30 available in my ebook budget. and $178.32 in my audiobook budget. These are going to fluctuate. So basically what happens, if a patron has an item on hold and you buy the Cost-Per-Circ, they will get a notification that the item is ready to be checked out. Once they get that notification, OverDrive sort of takes that money away from your budget, kind of, sort of. It didn't actually take it, but they make it look to you like they have so that you know how much money you have left in your budget. So if that person chooses not to check that title out, the money sort of reappears. So you may see, like yesterday, it was 108. Why is today 111? Because a patron who potentially could have checked out a title chose not to, and so that money sort of reappeared. So this is a little bit of a fluctuating process. They will not charge you more than what you have put as your target unless you bring your money down after those emails have already been set. So if you set your budget at the beginning of the month as $400 and you never change it, you will not get charged more than $400. I strongly suggest putting a purchase order ID, whether that's an actual purchase order ID that you will be using, or if it's, in this instance, I just use this to keep track, because it will help you differentiate your Cost-Per-Circ orders from your regular Advantage orders. Also, OverDrive bills these monthly, so you will get one invoice at the end of the month. Usually on like the first or second day of the month, you will get the previous month's invoice. So you will not see a bill, and this does not show up in your list of purchase orders that you can see in the reporting. It is separate. So they treat Cost-Per-Circ very differently than they treat the rest of the one copy, one user, and metered access. Okay, so this is how you manage your budget. And you can move it around and you can adjust from format to format. So if I decided I want to spend less in audiobooks, I can just go in and say I want to spend $175 there, and I want to spend $225 here. So I haven't changed my actual total. I'm just changing how that's being allotted. And now if I go back to monthly budget, you'll see my totals have adjusted. Okay. So in Cost-Per-Circ, you will see the list of titles that you have access to. Not everything is available to you in Cost-Per-Circ, but it is very good for certain tasks. So it's good for book clubs if you have a bunch of items that you want to get to people all at the same time. It's great for that. It's great for holds management. So if you only have 1 or 2 holds on a copy of something that's very popular and you don't want your patron to wait 6 months, or you don't want to spend $47 for the metered access copy, you can spend $15 and get your 3 patrons through for a fraction of the cost. If you have a particular collection that you're highlighting, you want to do a selection of different types of books based on, whatever month we might be having, you can use it for that. We use it for summer readings. We put all of our summer reading books into a list as Cost-Per-Circ if we don't own it already, and that we can get through holds quicker because this is a simultaneous use. Because you're paying per checkout, you can have 8 checkouts all at the same time. So there's not a bunch of holds on something. You're getting through those quicker. Particularly if anybody is aware of the one book buckles that's happening, both the audiobook and the ebook are available through Cost-Per-Circ. So we're going to use those as our examples. If you're looking for a title, you can just click in the box, type in the title, and hope that the OverDrive search works. Sometimes their system is a little slow. I also find that sometimes their search is not always the best either. Does anybody happen to know the author of Ma and Me off the top of their head?
Can you search by first name?
Yes.
It's Pusata.
Do you want to spell that?
Pusata.
Did I not spell that right? Say that again.
Okay. All right. Maybe I misspelled it. Putsata. Last name is Reang.
Okay, let's see. There we go. So it looks like just the ebook is available right now. The audiobook has been available in the past, so they may be changing things. I'm not sure. So in this instance, if you wanted to, you can see one copy, one user is the OCOU, metered access is the MA. You can see that the consortium owns 5 copies of the metered access. They don't own it as Cost-Per-Circ or simultaneous use as the SU. You'll see that there are 2 Advantage Plus copies. If you click on these numbers, you'll be able to see who owns it. So you'll see that Lewis Bay and Maplewood own copies in Advantage Plus. You can see how many active holds there are. Anything that's happening for your patrons will be in the Advantage tab. So if you owned a copy, that would show up here, or if you had holds, it would show up here as well. So you would see the active holds, suspended holds. Those are the holds that your patron has said, I still want to be on the list, but I'm not ready to check it out yet. And then the holds ratio. If you are interested in adding this title to your Cost-Per-Circ, you just hit Add Cost-Per-Circ title. One of the features that you have because of the ARPA funds where they had to be spent in a certain time frame is you can schedule when to revoke a title. So if you have a book club, we have summer reading. In this instance, we have the One Book Buckles that we know is done at the end of the month. You can say now, I want to revoke this title on October 31st. If you click the little box, it will ask you to pick up the date. We're going to say October 31st. We're going to say confirm, and then it will automatically revoke that title for you at the end of the month. And every time you add a title, it's going to give you a little box that says, yay, you added it. And they have basically say they have up to 24 hours for it to become available. Generally, it's available within 3 or 4 hours. It has never, in my experience, taken the 24 hours, but that's the warning that they give you every time that you add a title. Okay. So that is your basic search. You type in a title or an author, it gives you the results, you add it to your list if you want to, and move on. I have a couple saved searches. So if we click on Shop Cost-Per-Circ, you'll notice that under Saved Searches, there's 2 here. It says Cost-Per-Circ, CPC in collection, and CPC on hold. If you are going to get into using Cost-Per-Circ regularly, I suggest that you create these 2 saved searches. I'm going to show you how in a second, as it will make your life easier where you can just click on them and it will run the search for you. You can do this with also in the One Copy, One User metered access. So if you are somebody who runs a lot of the same types of lists, you can see those, you can save them, and it will show up right there on that front screen. We're going to click where it says Advanced Search. And wait. There we go. If you scroll down, and this information is going to be in the handout, so you don't have to try to frantically take notes about what you should be checking off. That will show up in the slides that we send you. Okay. So for holding, you can, for the in collection, you want to say in collection in the Advantage collection, and then owned as CPC. So you are basically telling the system to show me everything that is in our Advantage collection owned as Cost-Per-Circ. So I just want the second one, sorry. That's the one that we want. And then if you go down to the bottom, save. Once I suggest running it once. If that you've got the results that you want, then you can come back, run it again, and then hit save. You can give it a name, give it a description, and this pin search to the menu is the box that you want to check off if you want it to appear on that front page. If we hit search, you will see there are 16 items that Glen Ridge currently has available to our patrons as Cost-Per-Circ. You can see the cost of each item. You'll be able to see that there's a variation. And you can see how many active holds, suspended holds, and what the holds ratio is. Generally for us, I look at anything that has a consortial ratio higher of 5:1. If it is lower than 5:1, then I generally do not buy it in Cost-Per-Circ unless it's something like the Ma and Me or for our summer reading. One of the things you will notice every once in a while when I show you how to look at the items that you have on hold is something like this. So this is Warriors, a Shadow and River Clan. This is what we call an orphaned title. This is a title that nobody owns currently, but there are still holds on it. So somebody owned it as metered access, it expired, and nobody ever repurchased a copy. So currently there are 3 active holds on this title. One of those is a Glen Ridge. I generally order these as Cost-Per-Circ to get my patrons through and off the holds list so that they're not waiting forever and ever and ever for the hold to become available to them. And you can see that becomes easy to notice because there's only 2 columns in the holds as opposed to 3 columns. So that's how I know that's an orphan title, just by looking at it. So this is how I know what I have out. And when I see, we'll see, I've checked this recently, so I'm not sure if anybody's checked out their Cost-Per-Circ yet, but if they have, under active, if that number is 0, which it doesn't look like there are, and I've decided I don't want, oh, there we go. So for Axiom's End, it looks like my patron canceled their hold or has checked it out. I'm going to say revoke and revoke again, and that removes it from our Cost-Per-Circ. So it doesn't affect if somebody's already gotten a notice saying that that title is available for them, but it will keep anybody new from being able to check out that title, and you won't get any additional charges. The other search that I have saved and OverDrive is usually slow, but it's not usually quite this slow. So I think they might be doing something on the back end. Again, under holdings, and this time we're going to say not an Advantage collection. And under Advantage holds, we want 1 or more. So we want a minimum of 1 hold. Again, you can change these numbers based on what your threshold is. If you only want to see things that have more than 5 holds, more than 10 holds, that's up to you. I'd like to see everything that's on hold. And then again, you would hit save, give it a name, pin it to the page, and that's how you would create that same pin that I have. And then we're going to hit search. This is going to show you everything that my patrons currently have on hold that is available as Cost-Per-Circ. You have some different sorting opportunities up at the top. It defaults to most popular, but you can click on most recent street date, highest holds ratio, most holds. You can also adjust that in your saved search about how you want it sorted and save it with the sort that best suits you. I like highest holds ratio. And then you can just see your list of titles based on the holds ratio. It is the advantage holds ratio, which is different from the consortial one. It is very wacky, in my opinion. I'm still not sure how they figure that out, and I've been doing this for a very long time. When you find something that you want to add, you simply, again, click Add CPC Title. If you want to schedule when to revoke, you can click that box and pick a date. If you don't, you can just say Confirm, and it will add it to your list. And then again, you can come back in, look at what you have available as Cost-Per-Circ, and choose to revoke that way. Does anybody have any questions so far?
We do not see any questions.
Okay. So we're going to click back on Cost-Per-Circ. I'm going to click on my CPC and collection. And again, if you want to remove something, you just click revoke, you say revoke again, and then it's gone. And it can take up to 24 hours for things to disappear. All right. One of the other things that I want to talk about real quick, not in today's, is simultaneous use. Simultaneous use is also similar in the sense that your as many patrons as you want can check something out, but in this instance, you're paying sort of a bulk rate. The magazines are a good example of this, or they have a lot of different options for ebooks or audiobooks. So these are some options as well for you if you want to have things sort of always available. If you are ever in here and you're trying to figure something out, or you're having an issue, or you're not sure how to get help or what you need, if you click on the support tab, there are some really great resources. On the right-hand side, you will see our account manager, Nick Capera. He will be available to you to answer any questions. You can reach out to him. I find him to be very responsive and very helpful. We also have Alicia Adams, who is our digital content librarian, who will be able to help you with lists, curation, or other things that you might want to be doing with your collection. And then Bart is our product support specialist. He's more the techie guy. He is if you're having an issue with an API or something else that might be happening. But you can always reach out to Nick, and he will suggest who you should speak to. Let's see. So the question says, when you revoked that one title, there was still one hold, but it was not for your patron. Will it turn off immediately, or does it fill any remaining holds, just not allow new ones? So this is an advantage. When you're doing Cost-Per-Circ, it is only for your advantage patrons. So it will only affect my holds. It doesn't affect anybody else's holds. So it will not fill any other holds, just my patron. So if another patron has a hold, it's not going to affect them either way. It's not going to fill their hold, but it's also not going to remove their hold. Does that answer your question, Amy? Okay. This is something that can get expensive very quickly. And I have been noticing that for your bestsellers, $5.50 is pretty common for the ebooks. $9.50 is pretty common for the audiobooks. Things have been creeping. I've seen a couple lately that are $10.65 and $11.60 per circ. I generally don't buy those. This is where having a collection development policy, maybe updating your collection development policy to include Cost-Per-Circ, would be worthwhile if you want to set parameters for why you don't buy certain things, what you do buy, how many things you buy, what ratio you look at. Just be cognizant that, again, this gets expensive really quickly, so you may have goals that you can't meet based on your budget. The other important thing in the support tab, other than learning who your account manager and team is under help and resources. So Marketplace help is going to give you the basic shopping information, Libby help, OverDrive help, Canopy help, and then the OverDrive Resource Center. This is a really great place for you. You do not need to be logged into Marketplace to have access to it. We're going to click on Public Library. If you go to resources.overdrive.com/library, anybody can access this. There are training sessions, social media, templates, a ton of information is available here, including they have a lot of pre-recorded items. So this is a really great location to go to, and also a really good way to help market your collection to your patrons. Okay, I'm going to pop over to the slides to show you those real quick so you can see what you're going to be getting. One second. Sorry, my computer is being challenging. Okay, there we go. Okay. So again, CPC stands for cost per circ. You're paying per checkout. And you can pick whichever individual titles that you want. You can't have a set catalog the way Hoopla does. You have access to everything. Then your patrons check something out and you get charged. In this instance, you're selecting what is available to your patrons at any particular time. And you can change that as much as you want. I'm a micromanager with our collection. I tend to do this every couple of days, but you don't have to get that crazy about it. You can pick the titles you want and then change them weekly, monthly. Because you have to set a budget, you will not go over the amount that you have set. Again, you can set a monthly budget based on format, set a date to revoke those titles automatically, like at the end of the month or the end of the week or at the end of the summer. And it's good for book clubs, holds management, unique or individual titles, recommended titles, or summer reading. If a patron's like, you should really get this book, and you're like, don't think I need to spend $70 on that audiobook, but I'm happy to get it for you for $5.50. So that's also one of the ways that you can use it. Again, you've got your budget. They come up monthly at the end of the month. If you keep your internal ID, it will help you be able to keep track. And it does reset on the first of the month, so keep that in mind. You can search generally, same way you would search for one copy, one user, or metered access. The advanced search is where you have a lot more detail. There are a ton of options in the advanced search. This is how you can save a search. Again, you're going to hit the save button. And if you want it to appear on that front page, you're going to hit the pin option. These are the two that I recommend, but you can have as many as you want. Find a title that you want. You're going to hit add CPC title. If you want to schedule when to revoke, you hit the box and then pick the date. And again, if the item is already in your collection, you're going to hit the revoke button. If you want to schedule when to revoke, you can do that. So if you meant to schedule it for a month from now, but didn't do that when you added it, you can do it at any time. If you click revoke, you can then say schedule and put your date in. So it's not, you don't have to do it immediately when you add it. You can do it at any time. It can take up to 24 hours. I click those boxes. You're going to see that box so many times. You're just going to just keep clicking on it to make it go away. And again, that is pretty much it for Cost-Per-Circ. It's pretty basic. There's not a lot to it other than it's another format that we have available to us now in terms of eContent. That's relatively new. It was added to our list of options last year for buckles. It has been available in OverDrive for a very long time. I used to manage the eLibrary NJ digital collection, so that is why I'm familiar with it. Does anybody have any other questions?
I have a question. Can you hear me? It's Laura from Presskill.
Hi,
Great.
Laura.
So my question is, if when you buy a copy of a book, one user, one copy, one user, and it's set for a certain time or checkouts, I think, and then that kind of gets weeded from your collection at some point, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, one copy, one users will not get weeded unless you actively weed them yourself. Metered access titles will get weeded if you if it expires.
Okay, that's what I was thinking about. Yes.
Yeah.
So my question is, if you buy one copy, one you this Cost-Per-Circ, and then you revoke the title, is it easy to like purchase the title if someone wants it like down the line, or is it like on a weed list and you have to unweed it, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so if you want to add it in for Cost-Per-Circ again, it's exactly the same process that you did the first time. You just go back, search for the title, hit add Cost-Per-Circ, and you're done. You don't have to go back in and do strange things. If you've decided that, oh, look, and something that does happen, and let me bring my screen back up here. One of the things with doing this is I tend to have so many tabs open. Because sometimes you might want to compare the cost of one copy, one user versus Cost-Per-Circ. So let me bring up my list of what I have out. When you're looking at this, so like for the Ghost Club, you can see that I have it out. I currently have one hold. One copy is out. It checked out yesterday. In the past year, I've had one circ and a total number of circ. If you start seeing those numbers getting higher, like in this instance, I've had 4 patrons check out Winds of Change in the past year. Oh, it would help if I actually shared my screen with you instead of acting like you can see the screen when you can't. So Winds of Change, I have had 4 checkouts of this in the past year. That's basically where I start looking at it and going, if I've had 4 circs in the past year, I've paid, $12 for those 4 circs. Do I want to think about maybe buying the metered access or one copy, one user version instead of continuing to buy Cost-Per-Circ? You would just go to the normal one copy, one user metered access, search for the title and order it. You don't have to do anything to sort of undo other than revoke, because otherwise, if you want to have a Cost-Per-Circ copy and a one user metered access copy at the same time, you can. So if you want to order one and then have Cost-Per-Circ available to maybe like bring a bunch of holds down and then revoke it, but you don't have to do anything special to either order or not order. Does that answer your question? I feel like that was very...
It does. It was a lot of good information. Thank you so much.
Very convoluted. A lot of this is a little fiddly. And again, a lot of it is going to come down to what your thresholds are. And those may change over time, and they may change based on how much money you have. Or if there's a specific project or book club that you're interested in featuring or working with. A lot of this is really just going to come down to You could set it for every book you have on hold and bash through all of your holds in a month. That's going to cost you lots of dollars. But if that is your goal and you have those dollars, then rock on. We have what I consider smaller budget, but I'm sure there are libraries who look at $400 a month and go, oh my goodness, that's the most money ever. So you just need to look at what your goals are and how the best way to achieve those goals for you. But yeah, I usually go back and forth and compare, and I'll see like, oh, it's, $20, well, I'll just buy it. Oh, it's $80. I'd rather just pay my $4 and get my patron through as opposed to pay $80 for the one copy, one user or metered access. I also look at what the consortia owns. So if the consortia owns a one copy, one user, I might be more likely to buy the Cost-Per-Circ to get my patron through, knowing that in the future, if there's more holds, they can go off of the consortial copy.
So if anyone has any questions, please type them in the chat box or you can unmute yourself. Tina Marie, do you have any other like tips and tricks that you use to manage your collection?
Look at your reporting. Everybody who can get into Marketplace can go to the reporting. I find it to be interesting to see what my patrons are checking out with my Cost-Per-Circ, how many circs did I get for how much money I spent, and what does that turn out overall? Because again, there's quite a variation in how much the titles cost. I have one title right now that's $1, and I very begrudgingly added one that was $10.49 because I just wanted to get the patron through. It hurts my heart to spend that much money per checkout. I'm a thrifty spender when it comes to eContent. I, again, have been doing this for a very long time, so I remember the days when one copy, one user titles were like $10 for $19.99. So when I see Cost-Per-Circ at over $10, it just makes me unhappy. Really paying attention to the resources from OverDrive, looking at your reporting, seeing what your trends are with your patrons. And sometimes it's also fun to be able to just throw something out and see what's going on. If you have a display or a featured title or a local author, you can do those things as well, which can be fun to see like what happens when it's available to everybody. One of the other things that, like I've said with the Cost-Per-Circ, is you can curate lists. So you can customize your creation. So when you look at the website or Libby and it has the like Howling Goodreads or February is for Romance or whatever that might be, you can customize those lists for your library. We do it in the summer for summer reading. I put our summer reading list up, everything that's in the consortial collection and that we own, and also the items that I have as Cost-Per-Circ will show up there, and they're right at the top. So that's another good way to be able to showcase the titles that you have available. You can do that all year round. You will not get the titles that, or the lists that OverDrive picks for you if you do that. You have to do your own. There are some tips and tricks with that. That's a whole separate training. If you want to do that, they do have recorded curation trainings, and Sheila will also be able to help you with curation, but we do it in the summer. So I turn off the curation. I have our summer reading list, and then I turn it right back on when school starts.
Excellent. So I don't see any other questions. Any parting words of wisdom, Tina Marie, before I wrap up?
Don't be afraid to play with it. Put $25 in a budget and play with it a little bit, see what happens, see how your patrons like it. It can be a good way to get staff through a list without, or if you have maybe some people in your town that you want to be able to get through a hold, it can be a good way to do that too. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And Nick, again, as well, is a really great resource, and he's always happy to help answer any questions that you might have. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. Okay, so if anybody does have any questions, please type them in. I'm just going to go over a couple of closing comments. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's training. I'd like to thank Tina Marie Doody, Director at Glenridge, and co-chair of the eBuckles Committee, for presenting a great class to us. We will be sending certificates for attending the class. You'll also receive an email right away with an evaluation. If you could please provide your feedback for today's class, that would be great. It helps us plan future training on this topic as well as other topics that you'd like to see. And as Tina said, we'll also be sharing her slides and the recording with you when it is available. So I don't see any questions. So I think you've covered everything very thoroughly and left them with no questions.
Everybody's just shell-shocked by how fast I can talk about OverDrive and various lending models.
Good to see the passion. Yeah, so I think we're good. Anything else, Tina Marie?
Nope, that's it. Have a great day, everybody.
Okay, thanks everyone. Have a good day.